do it. I didn't do it. I swear I didn't do it.
Jay, welcome to the show. I'm so glad you got here on time. Aaron, we're going to have a conversation about your commitment to this show, because you just keep showing up late.
I understand.
Yeah, this tardiness is just, I mean...
Rhyme or free, it doesn't matter to me. It's my bad poetry. Good day and welcome to My Bad Poetry, a podcast where we take a deep dive into our poems from youth, yesteryear, or even yesterday, always asking the question, why in the world did I write this? I'm Aaron.
And I'm Dave.
And today we have with us a writer with a broad base of experiences, including sailor, roadie, trucker, and lecturer, and many more. The cranky pacifist with pushcart and best of net nominations, J. Parr. Welcome to My Bad Poetry.
Howdy, howdy, howdy.
So good to have you.
It's good to be here. I think this is going to be fun.
That doesn't sound like a cranky pacifist to me. We could dive into so many of these experiences that you've listed. I only listed a couple from your About page. But is there anything that we might have missed in the intro that you want to kind of highlight for our dear listeners?
Well, you know, there's been a lot of talk with all the politics going on and about the roles of men and women in the households and mothers and fathers in the household. I'm a work-at-home dad. My wife, my partner, I usually call her my partner. Mm-hmm. She brings home a pretty good sum more than I do. She supports my teaching and writing habits. And I do a lot of the traditional mom stuff, ferrying to and from school and to dance classes and cooking dinner, doing the dishes, that sort of thing. That's generally me. So, if a household where the gender roles are other than traditional is anathema to you, then you can go ahead and stop now, because
I love that, because my wife, she is currently a stay-at-home mom, and I love the fact that, like, being more free about gender roles means she gets to decide what she wants to do. And so right now she's staying home with our kids, and she plans on going back to being a teacher, but that's what, like, actual freedom is.
Mm-hmm.
Right? That she doesn't have to be restricted by that, and if she wanted to, she could go and work, and I could be a stay-at-home dad, because it's not actually limited to, like, gender.
Right?
What matters is, are you going to be the best parent you can be, or be the best
partner,
whatever you are? Yeah.
What do you teach?
Well, basically, I'm an English teacher, only I'm not in an English department.
Okay.
I teach in an online program, basically geared to non-traditional students. And I teach writing, I teach literature, but I also kind of teach narrative in other forms. One of my classes, my Frankenstein class, is kind of divided between the literature of Frankenstein and the whole film mythology.
Ooh, yeah. Very cool.
So, and I'm actually playing with, I haven't proposed it to the committee yet, so they haven't shot it down yet. I'm playing with the idea of an entire course on monster movies. So,
yeah.
Nice.
I'm a humanities guy. I get to teach the fun stuff, and I try to keep it fun. And hey, I get good enrollments and good reviews, and I'm cheap student credit hours, so it gives me a little job security.
Nice.
Awesome. I'm trying to pull right off the top of my head. We had a poet on who wrote a whole book. Yeah, Jessica Coelho what was her book? Yours, Creature. Yours, Creature.
Oh, I've heard that title.
Yes. You should check it out. Jackleg Press 2023. It's an exploration of the life of the author of Frankenstein, which is...
Oh, nice.
Yeah, it's really good. Anyway.
She had a weird life, man.
She did. And I learned a lot from that book. So, well, Dave, we should get into the realm of bad poetry. What have you got for us today?
I have a poem called...
That's good. I'm glad. Yep.
I hate you, Aaron. I have a poem called Death of Hope.
Oh, gosh.
I'm just trying to be, like, real inspirational here. So it says, "Be kind," the bumper sticker read. though a corner was beginning to shed. To hold it there was another film, FJB, but not in acronym. Does the irony not make your bones sick? Extolling virtue while being a little prick.
I love it.
I thought that one was all right.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. That's some beautiful autobiography of seeing a Be Kind bumper sticker held on by an F. Joe Biden, but it wasn't F.
Yeah.
Yeah. My goodness.
Yeah, people. I liked that my reaction to it was so angered and hatred, which is not great either.
Yeah. It's like, they're supposed to be kind.
Be kind, my ass.
Exactly. Right? Well, but you took that frustration, Dave, and you put it into this beautiful poem, which has now been shared. So thank you for that.
I feel like you're talking down to me, and I feel like that is the appropriate way for you to talk to me right now.
I'm feeling attacked, and rightfully so.
Yeah, exactly. I get it.
It wasn't exactly a limerick. Did you have a rhythm to it?
No.
Okay.
Just reverse.
If I had actually done some revision, there may have been something. I could have turned it into a limerick, but instead I didn't.
Hey, you had a rhyme scheme there.
Ish.
Well, the last rhyme is the important one.
Mm-hmm.
Well, oh man. I think it's time we dive into, Jay, you have brought for us so many.
We only
Bad
have
poems.
15 to 20 of them, so
Yeah,
we're good.
I mean, we're good here. You've given us one that has been published. So shout out to Bullshit Lit, amazing
Nice.
online publishing.
I love being able to put them in my CD, by the way.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's you've given it to us under the premise of it being a bad poem. So I am curious about that. And then a string of haikus, which we should definitely dive into some of these, if not all of them. And I don't know if we'll get to these other more prose poems things, but I kind of hope we do. We'll see how long these haikus take us. Okay, so let's start with this published poem that you are openly admitting is atrocious. That's how I'm reading this.
We're talking about the sonnet here. Right?
Yeah. So give it to us raw, and we'll see where we go.
Okay. This is sonnet 667. I have to write a sonnet for this class. To best the form, compose one of your own. But to my prof, I say, thou art an ass. Give us a break. Come on, throw us a bone. You want us to conform to Shakespeare's rhymes? Is iambic pentameter as well, as if we students do this all the time? What are you, nuts? What is this? What the hell? Then you say you'll critique it, making notes. I'm supposed to read and use them to revise it. And you'll be grading on what rhymes with notes. This paper sucks. No, really, I despise it. Aren't we all here to learn academies? Assign a 10-page paper instead, please.
Wow. Okay.
Why do you think this is bad? I adore this poem.
Well, okay. I'm a proser. I don't think we didn't get to that.
We didn't get to that. I saw
we
that
didn't get to
term
that.
and I wanted to. So this is perfect. Yeah. What is a proser by your definition?
Well, okay. I did an MFA program at UNCG, and we had a poetry stream and a prose stream, and we had a sort of joking rivalry between us. Like we'd pass in the hall, and I'd pass one of the poets, and I'd sneer and go, "Poet," and they'd sneer back and go, "Proser." And so yeah, mostly, I mean, I love playing with language, but as far as poetry is concerned, I really don't write poetry that I consider good. It might be fun, it might be clever, it might even be well constructed, but it's still crap. So for this, I mean, do you want background with this?
Yes, please.
Yeah, of
Okay.
course.
My first question is, did this come out of your writing program, or was this written post?
This came out of my teaching, actually.
Ooh,
Okay.
okay.
I teach a Shakespeare class, and I inherited it from another teacher who was more of a Shakespearean, and he had an exercise, blah 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 blah, going into scansion and all the yada yada, um, and it was analyzing the Friends Countrymen Lumière's
Mm-hmm.
Prince
Oh,
Roman's Countrymen Lumière's
yeah.
from Julius Caesar, and it was drudgery for my students, and it was drudgery to grade. And I was like, there's got to be some way that we can get this same idea into an assignment that's going to be more fun.
Hmm.
And so I started playing with the idea of, okay, well, the students are already studying a whole section of Shakespearean sonnets. What if I assign, okay, write a Shakespearean sonnet, the subject can be whatever you want,
Mm.
you're just following the form. you know
Okay.
and so I started thinking about that, and while I was thinking about it, I started thinking about the student who was faced with this assignment and who was just completely pissed off about having to do it. And I'm like, okay, well, what is this student going to write? and and well, not this exact poem, but actually the predecessor to this poem, which was Sonnet 666, was my original version of what came out of that thinking. And I did a major revision, and I decided it was such a major revision that it needed a new title, or as it were, a new number. So this is Sonnet 667. It actually has a lot of little examples that I can use to explain scansion to the students. Like, what I give them as an example, I give them the sonnet and then a line by line breakdown, of reading, like, okay, this line, like the line about iambic pentameter is absolutely not iambic pentameter.
Right.
Its emphases are all over the place. And so there are different things I've got to censure in there, and I've got places where they're inverted feet, and so all sorts of fun stuff that I can point out in the scansion and give them a lot of examples to work with, and then send them off on their own to do their own sonnet. And I think I've already set the tone by that point that it can be as weird, as silly, as goofy,
Yeah.
as angsty as whatever as you want. We're not trying to imitate Shakespeare here. I just want you to play with the form and have fun with it. And I'm actually really happy with how it's gone.
Honestly, that sounds like a fun assignment. And if a teacher were to provide this as like the example, it
Yeah.
completely changes one's approach. It takes kind of the seriousness. It makes it playful, or something that can be inventive, or a form that can be experimented with. So
If you read the one that I included in Obfuscatory Exegesis, once you get through the language, I think it gives you a pretty good idea about my opinion of a lot of the self-importance in academia.
Yes.
just because
Yes.
exegesis is a big word used in seminary as well, we will have to
Yeah.
cover that. So you write this poem, putting yourselves in the shoes of a disgruntled student, and then what brought you to submit it? Why?
Yeah.
It was Bullshit Lit putting out an ask that kind of fit the bill, or
No. I saw them open for submissions, and I thought Bullshit Lit would be a fun place to have this.
Yes.
And so I sent it to her, and lo and behold, she wrote back, and she's like, I love the fuck the sonnet.
Yeah.
And so
It's
yeah.
so good.
Thank you.
No, I can't compliment this high enough, because I remember being in high school AP English and having to write a sonnet, and being so angry because I'm like, I'm not taking this class to learn how to write poetry. I'm taking it so I can get college credit, blah blah blah. And being that kind of nerdy, like, give me a 10-page paper. I'll write a 10-page paper. I don't want to have to deal with this bullshit.
See, I was channeling you there.
Yeah. Well, and I just love, like, yeah, you're playing with it so well with the references you're making. I loved the what rhymes with notes.
Yeah.
And I also spent a good chunk of time looking at the to best the form, compose one of your own. Because with the capitalization, I thought you were going to spell something out with it. But
No. It's just sarcasm case.
Yeah.
Yeah,
that's good.
There's uppercase, lowercase, title case, and that's sarcasm case, and that's
I like
that, or at least that's what I call it.
Yeah.
There was a conversation somewhere. I think it was on Twitter before the invasion.
Yeah.
There was a conversation about how sarcasm needed its own font or something like that, and in that thread we came upon the idea of well, sarcasm case already exists. If you use sarcasm case, you're obvious, that is obviously sarcasm. So that was why I did it that way.
I love that. Now, here's my question, and I'm pretty sure I know the answer, or I can guess the answer.
Glad one of us does.
Yeah, sure.
If a student if you didn't supply this type of sonnet and you gave this assignment, and a student had the balls, or the whatever you want to call it,
I use cojones usually.
The cojones, sure. Yeah. If they had
chutzpah works as well,
yeah. If they had the chutzpah, yeah. If to write this and turn it in, your response?
110%.
Sure.
A++. Absolutely.
Yeah, it's
I
clever.
love moxie in my students. I love it. And when a student like totally takes the piss on something, I love it.
Nice. Yeah. I thought that would be the answer.
As a teacher, that shows that they understand you, they respect you, and trust you. That they're able to push back, but it's not in a screw this guy, I need to ruin his day.
Right.
It's I want to do this and I want to learn.
Yeah.
I look at it this way. Ripping the material to shreds is really one of the best ways to engage with the material. It really is. Looking at something you just read and going, I think this is complete crap, and here's why.
No.
I mean, if you didn't do some of that in seminary, you didn't do seminary right.
Right. Yes. Yep. 100%. That kind of, I think we should hop the haikus for now.
Okay.
And follow this conversation into I can't even say the word, Obfuscatory exegesis.
Okay. Of course you did that when I just ate a chocolate. Hang on.
Right.
All right. So this is not in verse. This is only 2 sentences.
Holy crap.
Obfuscatory exegesis. And I have to read this one carefully. The instances in which particular segments of academe resort to ineloquent affectations of unnecessarily obfuscatory verbiage and etymologically arcane esoterica, thereby rendering the presentation of any suppositions virtually impossible to disambiguate, correlate significantly with the instances in which said academics, typically rife with insecurity at having encountered the artificially imposed expectations of publication so common to academe, find themselves, unfortunately and counterproductively, bereft of any adequate contribution to the rarefied conversations in which the ostensibly relevant career-determining committees tacitly expect them to participate. The additional and self-congratulatory tendency of instructional faculty to compel academic neophytes to peruse such texts, with the implied assumption that any failure to glean the superfluously obfuscatory exegesis contained therein reflects upon the existential ignorance of the reader rather than the unwarranted opacity of the dialectic itself, engenders an atmosphere of alienating disparity, which significantly insults the self-actuating curiosity that should, ideally, motivate said neophytes toward their own advancement, and by extension, toward the ultimate survival of the intellectual milieu, which is ostensibly the very raison d'etre of the academic institution. QED.
So, to be clear, this was from April of 21. So, thesaurus.com or Merriam-Webster, what are we working with here?
We're actually working with a very long history with this one. I tinkered with that one off and on, and in the back of my head, and sometimes on the page for decades.
Nice.
Literally decades. I had an idea for a novel that I've long since abandoned, but one of the characters in the novel was an undergraduate college student who put out anonymous manifestos for what he called the Idiots Guild. And this was a statement, well, the predecessor to this was a statement that he had printed out and posted around various places on campus, just signed the Idiots Guild. And the narrator of the abandoned novel, well, actually, no, he wasn't narrator, kept seeing these and things like these and had no idea what it was. Thought it was, something like something profound and like, who are these people? What is this thing going on? And come to find out, it was just one smart ass student who was typing things up, taking them to Kinko's and posting them on bulletin boards around campus. But it was one of those things that, it became a favorite word puzzle.
Yes.
And so it's one of those things that sometimes I just pull it back out and tinker with it a little more. And, and a few months later, I'd go, let's look at that again, and tinker with a little more. And like every time I opened it, I'd end up changing a word or two here and there. And or looking at it going, okay, how can I completely make this little thought or this idea, this notion, this phrase even more absurd. And so I just kind of, leaned into the absurdity of it as much as I could. And there we go.
I love it. Did you purposefully, with each revision, seek to make it longer? Were you looking to add in more kind of extra details or insertions within the sentences, or?
It got longer as I was working on it, but then it also got shorter.
Oh.
And its proportions changed. And revision for me, like, that's one of the things. I'm probably weird, especially as prosers go, because I don't have like draft 1, draft 2, draft 3. I have usually one sort of slowly evolving draft. Now, it doesn't work in really long form stuff. You can't do a novel that way. But especially for short things, things under 1,000 words, like this is like 175 words, but they're all ridiculous words. So it's probably, word count, it's 175. Reading is probably closer to 400 or 500 as far as like how it fits the page, So, but yeah, with those, it would be just a matter of opening it back up and looking, if something struck me as not right, it's like, okay, well, this feels like a hiccup to me. How can I smooth this part out a little bit, or is this idea in the right place and this is one thing that I guess is probably harder to do with formal poetry, although I'm sure you can, is looking at something and going, okay, well, I've got this here, but does it work better up here or down there, or
sure.
adjacent to this other idea? And so that's and that's something that I would just play with. And this is not something that I would consider high art, but it's something that I tinkered with for a long time.
Sure.
And had a lot of fun with it.
Yeah.
It does look like it was picked up Street Cake magazine.
Mm-hmm.
In what form was it found there? Because it really is kind of right on the curve of like, is this a poem? Is this a prose piece? So how did the magazine accept it? What was it asking for?
They were asking for experimental work.
Ah, well,
Fair
perfect.
enough.
There you go.
And I thought this might fit the bill. And
I think this would be a wonderful exercise for middle school students to learn how to look up words in the dictionary.
I've actually thought about putting this, if it weren't my own, I would have probably already done it. I've thought about putting it in my foundations class with basically, with like a written response with the prompt essentially being, what is this saying? And is this a good example of academic writing? Why or why not?
Right.
Yeah.
Agree or disagree?
I think I have my response. But how do you spell fart noise? Because I feel like that my response to this lofty language is just
Yeah, I think that's the appropriate spelling right there.
yeah.
Yeah.
It's just so fun. Like you can kind of follow it, and
Yeah.
I recognize. I think I know most of the words, but you sit there and go, "You just used 100 words in a sentence to say kind of nothing, but it's technically a sentence."
Well, what I love about it is that it's saying that most of academia says kind of nothing, and it's doing it with every word imaginable, and then it says like, if you don't understand it, you're the ignorant one. It's like there's like,
And my goal here was make this thing, whatever it is, do exactly that which it is mocking.
yes,
There's like
there's
mock the hell out of
layers
it
on this.
while pouring it on, just dumping it on.
Yeah. It reminds me, there was a guy that I used to follow on TikTok, and he did a lot of stuff about African American vernacular and how there is like precise structure to it and there is grammatical rules to it, but it's not formally taught and it's seen as incorrect. And he has his PhD in linguistics, in like developmentary linguistics, and would just go through being like, we have as many complex rules for AAVE as there are for academic writing, but one is considered valuable and one is considered trash in academic settings. And you know why that is?
I mean, racism.
Yeah.
No. But yeah, it points me in that direction of how often do we obscure things behind fanciful language to exclude others or to create our own club, essentially, that locks people out of education or involvement in wider society. I don't know. It's really about the raison d'etre about my academic milieu. Yeah. Right? Did I get it?
Yeah, something like that. Yeah. Basically, in a nutshell, it's saying the people that do this have fuck all to say.
Yes.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And the people that make you read it are also assholes.
Yeah. It's the self-congratulatory tendency, the cycle of they write and then they assign each other's work, and it's just this like self-feeding system. Very gatekeepy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's funny, like in my classes, in my teaching, I keep going back to my teaching, but what the hell, it's something to do.
Yeah.
I encourage informal conversational language, informal conversational writing. I actively discourage, especially, earlier undergrads. You'll get students who have come from settings where they have been told their entire academic career that, this is how you have to write for anyone to take you seriously, but they don't really know what they're doing. So they're trying to make it look like that,
Yeah.
but they're, like you said, they're pulling the thesaurus out for every third word, and usually choosing the wrong synonym,
Yeah.
and you get these passages where, first of all, you can't figure out what the hell they're saying, but then as you look at it more closely, you realize, oh, okay, so this is a thesaurus word, this is the thesaurus word, this is a thesaurus word, and they picked the wrong words in each of these cases due to the fact that, so it's one of those things where I'm like, okay, guys, the goal here is communicating. The goal here is to communicate clearly. We're not trying to, impress each other with, it's like, I can write this crap with the best of them. I hate it. Don't do it.
Right.
It kind of feels like what we're seeing with the kind of the AI chat GPT move, where it's like when people get into this kind of milieu or whatever, it feels like a chat GPT just spitting out what it feels like is a human conversation or a sentence, and yet you can tell something's off. It's like a synonym is wrong, like you said. You see the thesaurus words, yeah. Well, I think we should get into your really bad haikus. Do you want to start us off with your first one here that you've given us, highlighted in blue?
Yeah. All right. Yeah, this one I wrote specifically for the occasion. Here I am on my Bad Poetry, the podcast. Lord, what have I done?
I think we found a tagline.
Yeah, there we go. It only took us 6 seasons, but we found it.
It's yours.
Lord, what have I done? My favorite thing about this is you have to break up the title to make the haiku work. Here I am on my Bad Poetry, the podcast. It fails just in the perfect way.
Yeah.
Yeah, I kept trying to figure out, like, how do I make this fit 7 syllables? And I was like, I don't. I don't. Just, enjam that baby.
Oh, wow. Yeah, let's look at a couple more of these. You say you just write these for fun? What do you mean? How do these come to you?
Well, I have a noisy brain. Stuff's just going on there. There's chaos. There's like somebody with a jackhammer. There's a punk show going on. Somebody's doing slam poetry. It's just kind of all there all the time. And I think this all started like back in probably Facebook days.
Okay.
Possibly even LiveJournal days, although I mostly remember it from Facebook days, where I had some friends who they would just post random things, only they'd post them in 575 haiku.
Sure.
The cool people.
Yeah. That was the in crowd.
Yeah.
No, absolutely, very much not. More like the people who just lean into being a weirdo. It's like, hey, you're gonna call me weird? Thanks. Yeah. You ain't seen weird yet. Yeah.
I think you mean interesting.
Interesting. Yeah, that's the Minnesota way.
There you go.
You're just interesting.
Down here, we say that boy ain't right.
Huh, I've heard that about myself.
I've been called on several occasions a silly goose.
Ah, yes.
I like that phrase too. Just a silly goose.
Bless your heart.
Yeah. So these haiku friends of yours, they started this format, and you've just kind of it just lives rent free in your head when you think of things?
It just basically lives rent free in my head. That's a really good way to put it. I'll think about some little thing I want to say, and my head will be like, "Can you fit that in a 575?" I'm like, "What? Really? Okay, well, let's try it." And if I get a decent one, I'll jot it down in here. This is something I've been tinkering with for years and years and years. As you've probably figured out, I'm mostly a tinkerer as a writer. And which is fun, but it's bad for my productivity because, like, but I've got
You've given
four,
us a lot.
4 or 5 dozen of these. I mean, this is just a little selection out
Nice.
of, and I put at the top there. I mean, what's in bold above this one, was when I go to send this out, this is what I want to call it, is Really Bad Haiku, a whole collection of them, poems by J. Parr. And
I love that.
it's forced into the 575, even in the title. So
That is incredible.
A whole collection of them.
and I'm seeing it as like a little pocketbook.
Sure.
In a horizontal format. So with like, one poem on each page. I think so. Eventually,
I buy that. Yep. So can you give us, I want to get to at least 4 more down because I'm not quite sure what one of them means.
Okay.
And I want to hear you read it. So can you read the next 4 of them? Because they're all bangers. So I mean,
you want to read this one, don't you?
Yeah, I do. Yeah.
Okay. Do you want me to work my way down to it, or you want me?
Yeah, because the rest of them are funny too. I love them.
Yes.
Okay. Okay. You'll probably recognize the first line of the next one. This is just to say, if you eat the icebox plums, I will be pissed off.
Taking a beautiful idea and just kicking it.
Oh.
Don't get me wrong, I love the poems.
Yeah.
It wasn't until Dave, you did a parody of that poem on this show that I learned about it. It had been off my radar. So this show introduced me to This Is Just to Say.
I am a genius, I know.
Yeah. But I get the reference, what I'm saying here. So okay, so now the void one.
Gaze into the void. The void gazes back at me. I think it likes me.
That's exactly how I read it too. That connotation is perfect. I think it likes me.
I was 1,000% going for a more middle school reading of, I think it likes me.
Oh, nice. I like that too. Yeah.
Okay, we got 2 more till it get. I mean, we got
So
one
good.
more. Yeah.
All right. Snarky poems in 17-syllable forms are the fucking best.
I want to say, you get me. You get me.
Yeah. If you hear Dave's hastily written poems for the week, very much the same attitudes.
Except yours are funny and interesting. So this is just cruel.
No, I've heard you've got some good ones.
Oh man. What I love about this is it's that self-referential thing that you were doing with your other 2 that you've given it, the sonnet and the milieu. You really like that style, and it's perfect. It works for you.
It's fun to play with what you're doing. I think it's fun to like. Sometimes I enjoy actively mocking what I'm working on at the moment.
Sure.
It's just like if we want to get all academic about it, it's breaking the fourth wall. It's like it's kind of like the side eyeing the camera, going, "Check this guy." You see this shit?
Yeah, right.
You're the Deadpool of English teachers.
Yeah, there you go. The Deadpool of English teachers. I just wanted to get to this one. There are other ones too, but this one I don't get. So
okay, this is the one that you wanted to hear.
Yes.
And in order to do this one justice, I have to put on my really bad Cockney.
Yes.
Which I am lousy at. So for all you folks on the other side of the pond, my apologies in advance. In the raw accent, the term glottal stop becomes self-referential.
That's good. And if it helps, most of our listeners who are across the pond are Aaron's relatives who live in France.
Oh yeah, they'd love this. Yeah.
They'll love it.
Oh my gosh. Okay, I get it. Yeah, I think I was picturing the wrong accent. To be fair, I was trying to put it in like a southern accent and stuff. I was like, glottal stop. Why is that
No,
self-referential?
I'd say glottal stop. They'd have a duh in there.
Yeah, I think that'd be there. I'm terrible with accents.
Yeah, I am too. Everything turns Irish by the end when I try.
Yeah. I live in, well, I'm a Midwest Atlantic Apple Southern. So I lived in Indiana as a childhood, and then in DC, and then in the Appalachians, and now I'm sort of in the North Carolina Piedmont, and in and out of a lot of different accents. And somehow I just developed the habit of mirroring. And it's funny, most of my brothers sound like a bunch of rednecks. And I'll get off the phone with one of my brothers, and my wife will say, "Which brother was that?" Because she knows, by the way I was talking.
Yeah.
Oh, that way that you're describing how you mirror, it just shows in your writing. I mean, when you're playing with the style, you mirror that style, but you have fun with it. Speaking of playing with it, can you read the "Sometimes I Like to Write" one? That one's more of a visual gag, but I wanted our listeners to hear this one too.
Okay, yeah. Sometimes I like to write haiku without line breaks. Mostly no one cares. And yes, that's written in one line.
It's perfect.
I wonder what that means.
Dave, are there any others of these that you wanted to read?
I mean, academia.
Okay.
Academia loves to couch the asinine in academies.
It's beautiful. Just hits my heart.
I'm just going for truth, man. But it ain't got to be in a highfalutin language just because it's a poem.
That one is brilliant.
That is so good. Just because it's a poem.
And again, I'm glad you read that one, because I was like, is poem a slang or a term? No, it's you capturing them. Yeah. These are the perfect example of fun bad poems.
Mm-hmm.
We don't have a lot of those on this show. I mean, we've had some other ones, but I love that you've brought these to us, because it does show, like, even when you don't take yourself too seriously and you just write, you can have a lot of fun with this.
That's what these are. I mean, this is just, I'm just doing this for fun. It's if I ever get like something published that I'm going around and doing book readings for or anything like that, I hope to have this put out as well as a pocketbook, because I think it'd be fun to intersperse, pick them up and go, hey, check this shit out.
Take this as the highest compliment I can give. This is the perfect, like, back of the toilet book.
Oh, yeah.
Like, you pull out, you read a couple of lines, and you just giggle your way through.
Yeah.
It's a perfect bathroom reader.
And you were talking earlier about self-referential stuff. So I'm actually over in the document right now, and I'm going to throw one at you that I didn't put on ours. And this one, you have to imagine the last line with mid dots between the syllables.
Okay.
So I admit I'm weak for self-referential words. Pentasyllabic.
Gosh.
Now again, this is said with love. I hate
you. You are the writer that Dave wishes he could be.
Yes.
Jay, this has been really fun. And
oh my gosh.
I do think, I know you had no clue, Lord, what have you done, coming on this show. But I think you're welcome back anytime.
Yes, please.
So, Jay, we end each week here at My Bad Poetry with the words of a true poet, and we're counting you as one. So, Jay, are you willing to read for us a poem that you are that you consider good. I don't know how to phrase this one. You've thrown some curveballs at us already, but yeah. What poem do you want to end this week with?
Oh God. I never even thought of that. In fact, I was going to bounce off of you guys with that one. So I don't know. Yeah. I'll throw flat spots at you.
Flat spots. Okay.
Yeah.
Is this published anywhere?
Yes. Yeah. It was published in 5 minutes. It's 100 words. Content note for suicidality in here for anyone for whom that would be a relevant content warning. Flat spots. Ka-thunk, ka-thunk, ka-thunk. The grocery cart's wheel, formerly locked by an invisible fence that keeps those people from stealing it away to their bus stops and apartment complexes, dragged across the pavement, grinding flat spots like brake-dragged train wheels, unheeded by the exhausted railroaders hauling loads of coal down from the mountains to roll ka-thunk, ka-thunk, ka-thunk along the backwater tracks into the switchyard. And now the middle-aged father on his suburban milk run finds himself transported back into a long-forgotten teenage despair, watching those wheels pizza cutter their tonnage along the steel tracks and wondering how long it would hurt. Shit, I landed on a downer. Sorry.
Yeah.
Like when you're looking to evoke emotion, you really can evoke.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Oh, it's beautiful. And you have a multiple of these in 5 minutes, it looks like.
Two in 5 minutes, and one of them's in a heroin chic. Yeah. The 5 minutes there, 5 minutes stipulations are that it has to be exactly 100 words and it has to be memoir. So
fascinating. Okay.
Yeah, it's a fun form to play with. But yeah, this group, what did I stuck them micro memoirs about living with suicidality. Not so much anymore, but when I was younger, lived with suicidal ideation for decades. It was just kind of there in the background, and never actually did it. Hey, thanks.
Hey,
but
you're here. You live to tell to be on our show. I don't. Sorry.
Lord, what have I done?
Lord, what have you done? I think that's an important story to tell.
Yeah,
and to reflect on. Yeah.
Well, and it's one of those things that I think people get scared of talking about stuff like that, but I feel like the people who've been around the block, I feel like we develop a wonderfully dark sense of humor, and I think that needs to be out there more. It needs to be discussed more. It's just like, this is shit that people live with. I mean, it's not a big bugaboo. It's not, oh my God, there's nobody's heroes. It's not inspiration porn. It's just shit people live with.
Yeah. So it's human.
Yeah. It's all part of doing this crap,
This has been My Bad Poetry.
Now, get out of here and write your own damn bad poetry.
No, it's fine. I'm sure you guys will have a lot of fun doing this podcast by yourselves.
We love you, Dave.